This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, and you're listening to Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And, I've had a number of the Friday the 13th alumni on the show, and last August 2015, I had the pleasure of interviewing the gorgeous Melanie Kinnaman. And now I've got my second guest from Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning, on the phone. The woman that had the dazzling cool hair and dance moves in the movie. We're talking about Violet, the real Violet, Tiffany Helm. How you doing, Tiffany?
I'm great. How are you, Greg?
I'm doing wonderful. What a way to start the day talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I noticed checking out your Wikipedia. You're now located in Canada. Did you marry in Canada?
No, I'm a dual citizen, and I've been trying to get back here since I guess my 20s. So I'm here now, and my family are all permanent residents. But I'm a dual, and proud to say it.
Yeah. What do you think of the process of the Canadian Film Institute here? Like, I think I'd like to see more Canadian films come out,
Absolutely. It's everything's pretty much concentrated back east in Vancouver. There's not as much quite where I'm at, but yeah, it'd be really nice, and it'd be nice to see more. I would think that more American film companies would be coming out here with the exchange rate. I know that I worked in Vancouver when I did 21 Jump Street, and it seemed like it was really lucrative for the American companies. And then when they come out, they need to hire Canadian actors. So it's a win-win, and it would be nice. I mean, there's a lot of good films coming out of Canada. We had, Room, right? It was up for several awards. I don't know if you've seen it. It was a brilliant film.
I was almost going to joke and say, The Room? You mean the Tommy Wiseau film?
No, Room. It's called Room. And
I know what one you're talking about, and
yeah,
you're pulling
yeah.
your leg.
It was great film. So there is good stuff coming out of here for sure.
Yeah, there's been a lot of good movies shot here. Class of 1984, Meatballs, Bad Cop, Hobo with a Shotgun. Of course, the Trailer Park Boys movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had Revenant out here just recently.
Yeah. You familiar with the Trailer Park Boys?
Oh, absolutely. And my husband's a huge fan.
Which one's his favorite?
He likes. Now, hang on, because I'm not the aficionado. I'm a Bubbles fan, but he likes. Okay, rattle off their names to me.
Ricky, Julian, and Bubbles.
Ricky.
I like Ricky the best too.
Yeah. So he even has. I bought him a shirt for Christmas, the Rickyisms. So But I'm definitely a fan of Bubbles. So.
You got Bubbles glasses?
I don't have Bubbles glasses. I can handle about watching, an hour, and then it becomes difficult because of all the beeping. I'm just like, I can't even hear what they're saying anymore. But my husband will watch it for hours and hours and hours.
Could you imagine you with your violet hair and wearing Bubbles glasses and then doing the dance?
That would be a good look.
Yeah, the Trailer Park Boys are located about 6 hours away from me, and I'm still trying to get them on here. My furthest interview was in Australia with Little Nell from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I'm like, well, we reached...
She was my favorite.
I love her. I got my interview with her
Columbia, right?
Yeah, Columbia.
Yeah, she was my absolute favorite character in that. That's super. I didn't realize she was Australian.
Oh yeah, she's Australian, and I interviewed her also in August, just before Melanie Kinnaman, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning is what you were most famous for.
I know, isn't that crazy?
It's like this whole community of people.
It's huge. Like, I go to these horror cons, and it blows my mind that people are so excited by this film that was, it's over 30 years ago. And I mean, we didn't even, when the script was presented, I didn't even know it was a Friday the 13th. It wasn't billed that way. So it's really impressive to see the following and the devotion and loyalty from the fans. You never know what you're going to be remembered for. So be nice.
Well, when you do these conventions, you get any interesting things to sign? Like I just interviewed Tom Matthews from Jason Lives, and he had said, and somebody else had said this too. Caroline Munro, when I interviewed her, of course she's not Friday the 13th actress, but she said the same thing. People come up and she'll sign their body parts, and they'll get their signatures tattooed on themselves.
Oh my goodness, I haven't had that one, but I've had. It's mostly like the Crystal Lake Memories book that gets signed a lot, and Jason masks, machetes. I've had some artwork that's been signed, like people have personal posters or artwork, or there's been like some 3D sort of stuff. And my favorites, I think, were when, and I think there were two of them at the Calgary Horror Con, where people actually brought in Pseudo Echo albums. I don't know where they found them. I have one. But I was a fan. Pseudo Echo is the band that sang the song His Eyes that I danced to when I got killed. So there are a few of those albums out there floating around, and I guess fans have found them, and they bring them in to be signed.
Yeah, Pseudo Echo. Now, it's interesting because you got a lot of interesting dancing in some of these movies. You got Kelly Hu being killed off, and Jason Takes Manhattan in a little dance hall scene on the boat. And then you got, of course, Crispin Glover dancing to the White Lion song.
That was the best one. That's the best one, for sure.
Yeah, and then there was you with Pseudo Echo, and with White Lion and Pseudo Echo, it's like very, very kind of obscure bands, but I would like to think that these movies kind of brought light to and recognition to some of their music.
Well, yeah, I looking at the videos and stuff that are on YouTube with the dances, with the dancing. There are a lot of people who come out and they're like, "Oh, I love Pseudo Echo," and I actually saw them. I think they've actually done reunion tours somewhat recently, and they had a couple of albums. And I have some fans who start talking band talk with me, and I only had that one record, so I'm not even like an avid fan of theirs, but I did listen to the record a lot back in the day. And the thing about those obscure bands, too, is it's easier for the film companies because they can get the rights to the music a lot easier than if it's some current popular song. So I think they're very happy when they find these obscure bands that work.
Well,
and I'm still waiting for a thank you note for those guys from Pseudo Echo. Like, it seems, I mean, I don't want to say I put them on the map, but it seems like they got a lot of recognition as a result of the movie.
They should have you on stage dancing to that.
That would be awesome, right? I can't quite do the moves, though, like I used to. Little out of practice for that. But I do it at horror cons for people. If they say they'll do the dance with me, I'll do it. I won't do it by myself, though.
No?
No.
well, whose idea was it to bring the Pseudo Echo His Eyes song, and why His Eyes, and why Pseudo Echo? How did that become involved?
Well, when they originally changed the scene, and that's another story, but they rewrote the scene so that I was going to be dancing in my room and getting killed, and the dancing was like the dancing that I tried to do, what I thought that they wanted, was kind of weird. It was like this strange white girl, non-rhythmic dancing, because that's not what I did at clubs. And I don't even know how it progressed, but I was doing the dance that I did at clubs, and there was like a group of kids who did this dance, and there was actually a guy at the last horror con who cited the moves perfectly because it's not robot, it's not pop locking. He called it synth pop, new wave synth pop. And I was like, that's the perfect name for it. So I started doing this new wave synth pop, and they loved it. And I think I had the Pseudo Echo, His Eyes, because that was my favorite song on the record, on my Walkman, because that's what we had then.
Yeah, I remember.
And I had a few other, like I had a lot of like Susie and the Banshees and Echo and the Bunnymen and Old Duran Duran and like just kind of this mix of 80s alternative goth new wave stuff on my I was going to say iPod, on my Walkman. And that song worked. I mean, it worked perfectly. His Eyes, there's a man with no life in his eyes. So they scooped it up, and I guess they were able to get the rights to it very easily because it was an obscure band. And it just worked, which was really cool.
Yeah, I was born in the 70s, so I grew up with a lot of these 80s bands, and boy, they bring back a lot of memories.
I still love the music. Like, I love a lot of current music, too, but I listen from everything from the 70s up to current and alternative, and I get into conversations with people or controversy or a bit of an argument when people say that there was no good music in the 80s. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's when the whole goth scene was coming up. There were so many great alternative bands in the 80s. Tears for Fears, like that music holds up super well.
I got two interesting references though. I'll usually go repeated viewings to movies that give me that 80s nostalgia feel. Rock of Ages did it really well. I went to that 4 times. And
the Tom Cruise movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Oh, I loved it, and that took me back. But this year, I actually saw a movie for the first time 9 times in theaters, because not only did I like the characters, but the music, I immediately ordered the soundtrack.
Yeah, what was that?
Everybody Wants Some, the new Richard Linklater film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused, where Dazed and Confused was set in the 70s. This one's set in the 80s.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. And boy, did that ever... I went and saw that 9 times, and it wasn't my plan, but I just kept going back, and then I bought it on Blu-ray.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Because I like the soundtrack on so many of those old movies, like the 16 Candles and Say Anything, and all those, the John Hughes movies. There was a lot of great music then, and it is nostalgic, and it takes you back, and it's simpler times for sure. And I think I get that a lot from the fans. Like, it just takes you back to a simpler time, more simple time.
Well, you were dancing in the film. Did that play into you getting the part, or was that just written in on the spot, the dancing?
No, not at all. That wasn't. No, the original scene was I was going to be in my room exercising, because in the 80s it was all about aerobicizing.
Okay.
And like the tight bodies. And originally that part was written for this like tight-bodied Pat Benatar type.
Okay.
And I was not that. So I went in and managed to change their mind, because I was the real deal. Like, I didn't get my hair done for the movie. That was my hair at the time.
You had the streaky hair at the time?
Yeah, and that was from Berlin, Terry Nunn.
Oh, I love that band.
Yeah.
I actually just bought their album, Pleasure Victim.
Excellent.
Yeah, great album.
So if you look at her hair, that's like when I first saw her, I'm like, I just fell in love with the hair. I'm like, I have to have it. So I had the hair for the movie, and wardrobe took me out shopping. I got to pick out all my clothes.
Okay.
So back to what you were saying as far as the scene, dancing was never a factor. But when they did makeup, they did makeup as if Jason comes into my room and I'm scissoring my legs up in the air doing my exercises, and he cuts me up through the middle. So makeup made me up that way. And it was really gory and nasty, and there's a picture on the internet, a Polaroid from the makeup trailer of me looking like that. And the producer looked at me and he's like, that's not going to get past our ratings board.
Yeah, I understand that the film almost was given an X rating because of that. Like Friday the 13th Part 2 ran into that problem with a double impalement scene, and this couple was having sex, and they ran into that same problem. So yeah.
So and I know ratings are different now. Like, you look at movies like Saw and all of these, and you're like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, they get away with everything.
They get away with everything.
Well, I'm reminded in 1971, A Clockwork Orange, Straw Dogs, and Dirty Harry faced very much a lot of scrutiny at the censors. Jump ahead 30 years, and you get Freddy Got Fingered gets an R rating. Why didn't that get an NC-17?
Yeah, it's very different now.
Yeah.
We put up with a lot more. But anyway, so getting back to the original question, they had to rewrite the scene kind of on the spot, and we shot quite late that night, and they were like, well, how about if you're dancing in the room, and, when we can have him raise you in the air. So then Tom and I had to learn how to use that little teeter-totter board, and so it was last minute, the change for dancing. So that wasn't part of the original casting requirement, being able to dance or being able to do a new wave synth pop or any of that.
When you go to these horror conventions, how on average, how many do the dance?
Well, I think most people are almost too shy to ask, but we have a few. And I think there was one I did back in New Jersey a few years ago, Monster Mania, where we actually had a group dance, like they announced it, like if you want to come and learn the dance, come back to my table at this time. So when I'm in a group, I don't mind it getting filmed, but I'm like, I don't want to be the only one there on YouTube doing that dance. Like I said, it's not like I do it every day, so I'm a little out of practice. But there is a video that I was asked to do from Fright Rags.
Okay.
That's on YouTube of me doing the dance, my Tiffany Helm School of Dance.
Okay. I heard there's a parody of that out there somewhere as well.
There is a parody, and it's quite funny, where Jason comes in and he's watching me dance, and he starts really liking the music and tapping his feet, and he starts dancing too. It's not me. I don't know where this video came out of, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that tells you right there your work's been remembered well when people parody your work.
Yeah, you just look at the hits on that, and I'm just like, wow. You never know. Again, it was a low-budget film that I worked on, and we didn't even know it was a Friday the 13th until we were signed on to do it. So it was an experience for sure.
And of course, it was directed by Danny Steinman. Of course, reading some background, had a little bit of work done in the porn industry prior to this, and judging from the amount of nudity in this film, I'd say I kind of translated over a little bit. But what was Steinman like as a director?
I have nothing but good memories of Danny. Just like the story I told you of changing the death scene, he really gave the actors a lot of freedom, at least me. I can only speak for myself. But the fact that this part was written for somebody entirely different visually, and he had the vision to have someone like me do it. Because at the time, Hollywood's vision of alternative and the new wave or goth or punk or whatever you want to call it scene was Pat Benatar. That was about as far as they could go. They didn't they didn't see anything else. It's very different now. I mean, Hollywood includes a lot of alternative and fringy people. But Danny let me do what I wanted to do. I mean, I picked my clothes, I picked the music, I picked the dance, I picked a lot of the pictures that were in my room, and he was great. He gave us the freedom, and I think that's a sign of a really mature director. And I worked with Robert Altman, too, one of my first jobs, and he worked in a similar fashion, and so appreciative for that, because not all directors are like that. So I have nothing but good things to say about Danny.
I heard a story where you had, you originally were going to have a picture of Sid Vicious on your wall, and that's that movie.
Yeah, I think there is a picture of Sid somewhere in the room.
Yeah.
And that was where my artistic vision got cut a little bit short, because I thought it'd be really cool if I died against that picture.
Yeah.
The punk rock like tribute, and they said I couldn't do it because of Sid Vicious's estate, like showing his picture, and I was like, Sid Vicious had an estate. Like, it kind of, I don't know, it shattered my image of him as this, street punk London guy. But anyway, yes, I couldn't die next to Sid Vicious, but he's in the room someplace.
Well, as I mentioned, I had interviewed Melanie Kenneman, and man, what a gorgeous woman. I'm still in touch with her, and I'm going to tell you, I know that she relayed that Danny Steinman was a little harder on her, and
well, she was the final girl.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be the final girl, you gotta work a little bit harder. But yeah, I had heard. I had a table right next to her at the Chicago Horror Con that we just did, and I heard her relaying the story. Like, I mean, she was sick for some of the final scenes, and they're wetting her down, and she's having to deal with that chainsaw, and it's late and it's cold, and she had to work through it being sick. I mean, that's the thing, when you're an actor, you can't call in sick, you got to show up. So yeah, she earned her stripes for sure.
Yeah, that chainsaw scene, she said, was shot on Halloween night.
Okay.
Yeah, she said shot on Halloween night, where she took at Jason with the chainsaw.
Nice. Yeah, I think I went out. I think Juliet and I both went out to the set that night, even though we weren't working, to be like just spooky and ghouly, and why not hang out on a set of Friday the 13th in like some orange grove outside of L.A., just to spook things up. So I think we were out there, but I don't. I think I might have seen some of the shooting that they were doing for Melanie's scene with the chainsaw, but I don't exactly remember.
Well, Melanie paid me one of the biggest compliments on Facebook. I had my profile picture up there, and she wrote one word underneath, hot. And I'm thinking, all these girls that's turned me down over the years from here because maybe I was just too easy. I guess they don't want a nice guy.
Are you a nice guy?
I'm a nice guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting mixed responses from girls around here, but you know what? That's fine. They can keep
Melanie calling you hot.
I'm okay, and I don't think I'm hot, but I'll take that from her because I think she knows what she's talking about.
That's excellent. Melanie's super cool.
Like Melanie, she
that as a compliment.
She had an interesting post on Facebook not too long ago. I know that during the film she was mentioned that she was asked to take her bra off, and I don't think she thought anything of it at the time, but she realized that because she had her shirt on, but she realized that looking back when she's all wet, it's a see-through shirt. And she was stating, she made a funny comment on Facebook. She said, On television, they blur that out, but they won't blur out that appearing and reappearing pink sweater.
Right, the sweater, and I heard that brought up a lot. Again, like I haven't even seen the film in a long time, but I'll have to watch for that. And that's, whenever I see stuff like that, I'm like, hey, continuity, you gotta like be aware. And I think she even said that she, that's right, she said that she had mentioned it on set, something about the pink sweater, and the response was like, if they're looking at your sweater, like you're not doing your job or something like that.
Are you kidding me?
I was like, what?
It's noticeable, I'll tell you that.
Is it?
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
I'll have to watch it again. That's funny.
It'd be about the same as somebody shooting a football scene, a guy running with a helmet on, then next he's got the helmet off.
No helmet, right.
Like,
right.
I'm sorry, it's noticeable.
Yeah, well, I notice stuff like that. Anytime I watch a TV show or a film, I'm looking at the details that most people don't see. So I'm sure, yeah. Well
I thought Melanie was super cool, and loved having her on there. What a sweetheart! And
yeah,
she sent me
great lady.
She sent me a couple of really nice autographed pictures in the mail, and I cherish that. And of course, John Shepherd, of course, playing Tommy in the film. You got any reflections of him?
Well, John and I, we didn't really work together. Like, we didn't have a whole lot of scenes together, so I don't, there wasn't that connection with him, but I remember him as just an extremely hardworking, serious actor. Something similar to when I worked with Ben Vereen. Like, he took the job and the role very seriously, not to say that he was, not fun to work with. But that's my primary memory of him.
Okay.
Again, I didn't connect with a bunch of the actors. Like, Juliet and I were like a pair on the set, and we would like hang out off the set and stuff. But the other actors I didn't interact with quite as much, and I had a bond with the makeup and wardrobe people.
Oh, they probably liked you and your hair.
Oh yeah, it was fun. It's like when we went out shopping for my wardrobe, it was fun, and I got to buy back some of the wardrobe. Some of it I wasn't able to get, and I was like, oh, I really wanted that dress when we're hanging laundry, and I never got that dress. I was bummed out. That's the nice thing. When a movie's over, you can buy back wardrobe usually, unless they need it for shooting.
What do your children think of your get-up in that film? Have they seen it?
They've seen the death scene. They haven't seen the entire film. And my son, who is getting into the horror genre, he's really getting into it. He was running around the last horror con with this mask he just bought and hiding under my table and scaring the guests, like popping out and stuff. So he's into the horror genre, and I'm thinking about soon letting him watch it. He's 10. And I mean, as far as the stuff that's out now, it's not over-the-top gory. They're 80s special effects, right?
You are a little bit worried about the nudity, though.
Yeah, that's the part. That's where I'm like, maybe not yet.
Yeah, Debbie Sue Voorhees kind of takes it all off in there.
Yeah, it's, and he would be uncomfortable. He would probably leave the room because he's 10, and, girls are kind of icky.
Actually, strangely enough, the first naked woman I've ever seen was Kirsten Baker in Friday the 13th Part 2 when I was baited into watching that when I was young. My first naked woman.
And did that blow your mind?
Well, I never knew how women were put together before that. I mean, remember, I was young, so... Yeah, like I would have been 9 when Part 2 came out, and so like I would have been grade 4 or whatnot. And we were into other things, not girls at that age, And
right.
So my cousins were a little more dirty-minded, so they were a little more advanced in that, And if I ever talk to Kirsten Baker, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to relay that story.
And you'll probably go bright red.
But
yeah, the kids think it's super cool. And again, recently have I spoken about, my career in the 80s now where I live, so people don't really know, but my kids like to tell people. So their friends, I just walked last week, my son was in a hockey camp, and I went to pick him up, and there are all these little kids, chattering away and asking me all kinds of questions about my illustrious career. I was like, oh my gosh. So they think it's super cool. And I think my daughter even, they had to do a project in school of something about a famous person or a celebrity, and my daughter picked me.
Okay.
Which I thought was really sweet.
Cool. Do you have any memories of Shivar Ross?
Of Shivar?
Yeah. Reggie the Reckless?
Reggie the Reckless. And the first thing that comes to mind, I actually have a Polaroid of Shivar and a young woman who was one of our stand-ins, standing in the makeup trailer, holding Junior's head. And I think that I don't even remember when that was. So Shivar, again, it's not like we hung out or anything, but as far as I remember, he was very much like who he was. I mean,
okay.
Just a precocious youngster, fun and very social and funny, energetic. I mean, your typical youngster, right?
Yeah.
And I hope, again, in the future, that I get to work with him at a horror con. It's always nice to reconnect with everybody that we worked with.
You mentioned Junior. I got to say, Carol Locatel and Ron Sloan as Ethel and Junior, they could have made a movie just about them.
Definitely. They kind of stole the show.
They were hysterical.
They're very funny.
Never go to a restaurant that has Ethel working at it. She spits in the stew. But Junior thinks it's the best darn stew in the whole world.
Well, that's, she puts a little something extra special in it for him.
Yeah.
Gives him his smarts, right?
Yeah. And Juliet Cummins, you still in touch with her today? You seem very close in the film, your characters.
Yeah, we hung out for a few years back in the day. I don't speak to her much anymore. I've checked in with her a couple of times over the years. But we haven't really reconnected. I mean, a little bit, and we talked about parenting and stuff like that, and all the things that come with getting older.
She's still in the business?
Sorry?
Is she still in the business?
I think she is. I mean, if you do a Google search on her, it looks like she's got some great looking headshot. I mean, she looks fabulous.
Okay.
And I believe she's still, I think she's branched out into other things, as we all do, but I think she's still got a foot in the film and TV industry world.
Okay. And, of course, Debbie Sue Voorhees. Do you ever hear anything about, she, of course, had the Voorhees last name.
Right,
Go figure,
right. Right.
Did you ever hear anything about how she felt about doing the nude scene, and was she comfortable with it, or did?
I don't really know, but I was interviewed by someone several months ago who I guess did an interview with her, and I guess she's got a very fascinating story. So I'm not going to give away any details on her life.
I got to get her on here.
Sorry?
I got to get her on here.
Yeah, I think you should, because from what I gathered with this other interviewer, is she's got a great story. And I didn't work with her. Her scenes were totally different. I think we maybe just passed each other in makeup trailer. So I can't really say how she felt about doing that. So I don't know.
And of course,
I don't know, but I think for most people who do nudity, it's like when you're young and you have the body, it's like, great, now you've been documented.
There you go.
know? That's awesome. So when it all starts going south, you can be like, yeah, I used to be, this is me.
And of course, Corey Feldman making a cameo from the final chapter, making
Right.
in that dream sequence.
Yeah, and of course I didn't work with him at all
No.
on that. That was a whole different day of shooting.
I do have to mention some of your other films. Actually, before we leave it, of course, Dick Wynn, of course, played the ambulance driver, but you had Tom Morga, of course, played Jason in that film. Any reflections on those two?
Well, Dick, again, I didn't really work too much. I mean, we had, scene together, but I didn't really connect with him as much. Tom I chatted with. Tom, super cool, and was really delighted that he showed up at this last Chicago Horror Con, because I hadn't seen him in years, so I was able to talk with him. But he's just he's a great guy, humble stuntman, right, who landed these roles. And I remember one night, like, Juliet and I walking through those orange groves where we were shooting. It was the house was like an orange farm, and there were these groves, and it was dark, and we'd walk through there, and Tom would hide and spook us from the trees or something. And he was fun to work with.
He didn't want to save it for the set to get you guys early.
No, I mean, it's not like he did it all the time, but it was like he liked to prank, right? He was very fun. So I totally enjoyed working with Tom.
Well, other films you did Hard to Hold, of course, based on the Rick Springfield album. What was that experience like? Did he ever find Jesse's girl?
He's still looking. No, I don't know. That was one of my very, very first, I think it was like my second job. Like, I think my first job was a show called Bare Essence.
Okay.
Many years ago. I don't even know if you remember that, about the modeling industry. And then I think my second job was the Hard to Hold, and I was what is called featured, where you're not really a principal actor, but you speak or you do something. You're like kind of a glorified extra, right?
Okay.
And I was like the head groupie, basically, of all these girls. There was a pack of girls who are trying to get an autograph, and Rick, I can't remember the story. I've actually seen the movie, and I can't remember how it transpires, but he's in a towel. He doesn't have his clothes, or he has something that's not even a towel, like he's barely covered up. And myself and the group of girls see him and shriek and start chasing him. And so we chase him all around the wherever the concert is, the backstage area. So I was the lead screamer, oh my God! That was really what I did on it. And I remember Rick was super cool to work with, and it was a fabulous experience, and I definitely wanted more film work.
And, of course, you did O.C. and Stiggs for the great Robert Altman. Of course, Robert Altman, like Alfred Hitchcock, one of these great directors who's been nominated for several Oscars, but's never won for whatever reason.
I know, it's shameful, right?
It is shameful, but what a great cast you had in this movie. Jane Curtin, Paul Dooley, John Cryer, Ray Walston, Dennis Hopper, Martin Mull, Bob Uecker, Cynthia Nixon, Melvin Van Peebles, Tina Louise.
Too? Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was in it. It was, and that was my first location shoot, where I actually went out of state to shoot. And usually, when you do movies like that, it becomes very family. And it was an incredible experience.
What was it
Incredible experience.
What was it like working with Robert Altman? I mean, this was after he had some big success already.
Oh, yeah, and he would, we would get to see the dailies at night. That was like a group thing where we'd all come in into this little auditorium and watch the dailies of what had been shot, and then I think it was like every Sunday night, some weekend night, we would get to see one of his films, which was super. So it was great. I'm like, and I'm getting paid to do this. But again, kind of like what I said about Danny Steinman, his whole philosophy was like, I chose you for the role, so at this point you should know what you're doing.
Okay.
And he would basically give, if there were certain aspects of the scene that needed to come across, he would make sure that we knew that had to come across. But then he was like, but then you guys take it, you roll with it. And I went too far on one of the scenes because I'm like, man, we got free reign.
Okay.
But there's a scene with King Sunny Ade.
Okay.
It's a big band, and they're all singing and playing on stage, and we're supposed to be in the audience, like loving the music and everything. And being who I was in the scene, I got carried away and was like shrieking and screaming and stuff. And just like a rabid fan at a concert would do, I went and got on stage with him.
Oh.
And Alden's up on the side, waving his hands like, get off of the stage. My bad.
Do you want a little Robert Altman trivia?
Robert Altman trivia?
Yeah. His movie MASH apparently was the first movie to feature the F word.
Oh, I did not know that.
I actually found that out. I was reading something to do with Roger Ebert, I think, related, And, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I did not know that. No, he was great to work with, and it's like, and he had all his sons on the set working with him, and he always had like the same people working with him.
Yeah, and this was done before, like Paul Dooley went on to do 16 Candles, and John Cryer did Pretty in Pink, and of course they're part of the John Hughes universe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you have any memories of John Cryer?
Oh yeah, John and I, we were great friends on the set, and actually, and we totally kept in touch. I stayed with him out in New York for a while when I was visiting, and like I remember when he was doing, he did some stuff on Broadway. I'd go to his shows. We were pretty good friends for a long time, and he came back and moved to L.A. for a while. And I remember when he was doing Pretty in Pink, hung out with him then. We'd go out to clubs, and he was super cool. I adore John, and haven't spoken with him in a long, long time. I would love to get in touch with him. I've tried a few times, but he's kind of at a level now where he's got a lot of people in place. So it's like I manage my own social media, but John has people to do that. So it's difficult to get a message through to him. I've tried a few different ways, and I haven't been able to reach him. But it'd be great to reconnect with John. Super awesome, humble, cool, great actor.
Yeah, and some of the people in this film are no longer with us, like Ray Walston and Dennis Hopper. They're gone, Ray Walston, of course, played Mr. Hand in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Right.
Yep.
Yep, and then Martin Mull, and I remember Martin had this cat. A cat had come into his room, and this little orange tabby, and he couldn't keep the cat. So I ended up taking the cat and had the cat for many, many years. Bongo, and we named him Bongo from King Sunny Ade and the Bongos. And there was actually a bongo player there who wanted me to come back to Africa with him and marry him.
Oh.
I can't do it. So anyway, we had this cat named Bongo from Martin Mull, which was pretty cool. But it was a terrific experience.
And of course, after that, you went on to have a starring role in a movie called Zoo Gang.
Yes, that was right after. So I went from shooting in Phoenix to shooting in Prescott, Arizona.
Okay.
For Zoo Gang, and that's, I don't know if you remember, I don't even know how old you are, but if you remember Billy Jack.
I'm 44. I was born in 1972. I'm not that much younger than you.
Okay, but still, you weren't around for Billy Jack, unless you're...
Billy Jack would have been, I think, 1971, so that was the year before I was born. But I know what film...
Anyway,
yeah.
they shot Billy Jack in this small town in Arizona called Prescott, so that was a big deal for me.
Okay.
But yeah, so I worked... I did Zoo Gang with Jason Gedrick. It was like one of his first films.
Okay.
And Jackie Earle Haley, Ben Vereen.
Jackie Earle Haley went on to play Freddy Krueger in the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I remembered him from Bad News Bears. Like that was my recollection of him. And Eric Gurry too. Sorry.
But it's interesting, the Nightmare on Elm Street reference, because your mom, of course, is Brooke Bundy.
Yeah.
And she was in 2 of the Nightmare on Elm Streets.
Yeah, I think it was 3 and 4 that she was in.
And you have a connection with Freddy Krueger beyond that as well.
Yeah, when he did, when they did, there was a TV show, Freddy's Nightmares.
Yeah.
And I got to do one of the episodes of that where I actually give birth to his baby. So I have a great Polaroid of me being the proud mama holding up little Freddy's baby, who is really this ghastly-looking creature. But it was a fun show to work on, definitely.
Yeah, your mom was involved in, I think, Elm Street 2 and 3. Is that correct?
Is it 2 and 3 or 3 and 4? I think it might be 3 and 4. I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, it's been a while since I've seen those. I know the original quite well. I got that one home.
Yeah, I saw that in the theater too, but I usually, like with sequels, I don't often, in fact, I don't know if I ever go out and see the sequels in theaters. I just kind of wait for them to come out.
Yeah, you get a few good sequels, and then sometimes, they just go haywire with it.
Yeah.
But
although I did see, with myself and my best friend went and saw my Friday the 13th on opening night in a theater, and that was fun.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Good turnout?
It was a good turnout, and we were, of course, not really knowing the fan base, like that opening scene where he stands up, where Jason comes back to life.
Okay.
And everybody, they got out of their seats and were cheering, and I was like, whoa, this is a little weird. So, it was an introduction to the loyalty and the mentality of the fan base. It was very interesting.
Yeah, one interesting more fact about Zoo Gang is it was the first film to receive the PG-13 release, although I think Red Dawn was released before it, but I think Zoo Gang was done first.
Yeah, and as I recall, I was one of the actors on O.C. and Stiggs was reading for Red Dawn. I remember, while we were doing O.C. and Stiggs, that was happening. So I think all the production was going on at the same time. But yeah, Zoo Gang was the first to receive the PG-13 rating, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, and then, of course, you went on... of course, the PG-13 was as a result in 1984 with the controversy surrounding Gremlins and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, those were the 2 films that mainly caused that. But then you went on and did Reform School Girls. Are you reformed?
Finally. It took 30 years. Yeah, did Reform School Girls. Work with Wendell Williams and Pat Ast, and the director, Tom DeSimone. His brother was actually in our Friday the 13th. He was the Billy, the
ambulance driver, the perverted ambulance driver.
Perverted ambulance driver. So his brother directed Reform School Girls.
Well, he needs to be reformed.
Definitely.
That ambulance driver.
No argument here.
Yeah, you also worked with Sybil Danning. Now, there's a veteran name.
Sybil. Yeah.
Yeah, did you have much interaction with her? I didn't see this film, so what kind of role did you have in that
Oh, you
film?
got to see Reform School Girls, classic B movie stuff. I was one of the bad girls. Like Wendy had her henchmen, right?
Okay.
Little group. So myself, Darcy DeMoss were the two main bad girls.
Darcy DeMoss, of course, went on to do Jason Lives.
Yeah. So she's another one you should have on your show.
I got her on my friends list, and I've sent her a couple of messages, and for whatever reason, she just isn't getting back. And of course, Nancy McLaughlin said, "You'll get her, you'll get her." I'm like, "Yeah, how often do I got to flag until she sees it?"
It's frustrating, isn't it?
Well,
but I don't talk to Darcy, or I would say, "Hey, Darcy, check your messages."
well, yeah.
And I don't know, how other people handle their social media. You never really know who you're talking to when you're going on celebrity pages, right?
Yeah.
I don't really know. And there was some, because like my mom, who doesn't have a Facebook page. I keep saying, "Mom, you got to get on Facebook so I can, send you pictures of the kids, blah, blah, blah." She's like, no, but people have created Facebook pages for her.
Okay.
Which I've reported when people are, pretending to be her or something.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to find, like even me, like when I want to find somebody that I really like or a band that I like or something, and kind of sifting through, like, okay, who is from the actual person or band and who is just like speaking for them, like a fan who is pretending to be them. So make sure you're getting the right page for sure. Or
Yeah.
best yet, the best way to do it is to contact her agency.
Well, I do have Darcy on my friends list, though. So, and I know that she's friends with other people I've connected with. So, yeah, I believe it is her. I have interviewed 3 people from Jason Lives, and they all got her on their friends list. So I think it's the right person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, but in Reform School Girls, it was just, I don't know, your typical. I don't know what you would call that type of film, but I was one of the bad girls who harassed, the heroes, and it was Wendy Williams' sidekick.
Well,
No, I did not work with Sybil that much.
No.
And again, like I didn't connect as much with her. I had a friend on the set who was doing some extra work and would help with my makeup and wardrobe and stuff. So I was kind of hanging out with her, and not so much the rest of the talent. But everybody was, again, really cool on the set. It was a good experience. I had some run-ins with a couple of the extras who seemed to be taking the roles a little too seriously. I was like, wow, like acting like this isn't real.
Yeah. I was going to ask too, though. You promote your webpage. I know you're involved in. Was it Rascals Photography? Is it?
Yeah, I'm a portrait photographer.
Okay.
So yeah, Rascal Photo and Design. If anybody's interested in seeing what I do now, I have a Facebook page too, website and a Facebook page. So if you're into photography or like looking at pictures, check it out, give it a like.
Are you
hi.
Are you retired from the industry now?
Kind of a gray area. Like I retired and found that being a photographer was very fulfilling.
Okay.
And I lived in Seattle for 18 years, and there really was not much industry there. Like I worked on a couple of, I did a medicine ball there, and I worked with Gentry Lee and Arthur C. Clarke for a video game, Rama.
Okay.
Where they used live-action actors. But there really wasn't any work in Seattle, so it kind of forced me to get creative, and that's when I started my portrait business. But being back in Canada, and because I'm a dual citizen, I thought that it might be really wise to get representation out here.
Okay.
So there isn't a whole lot that's shot out here. Like, we get a lot of period pieces, except Fargo shot out here.
Okay, yeah.
God, I would love to get in on that show. That's an awesome show. And we have a few shows going on here, but not much. Like I said, most everything's back east and in Vancouver. So I did sign on with an agency last year to try and get my feet wet again, even if they're just, small roles and working for a day on something. I'd love to do it.
Okay.
I think it would be great.
Are you involved in any charities?
Several. I've done one of the major charities that I work with out here. I've done volunteer work, and I go up and I've documented the ambassadors over at the Alice Sanctuary.
Okay.
Which is for farm animals, and it connects people and animals. They do amazing work. So I try and do work with them, and I think I'm about to embark on a project with them to put together a book.
Okay.
And photograph the animals and the work that they do, and not the work the animals do, but the work that the sanctuary does.
Okay.
Yeah, that's. I work with and advocate for a lot of animal advocacy groups.
Good causes.
But that's the main one that I'm involved with out here.
Okay. Well, two things before I let you go. Number one, do I just contact you through your Facebook page for an autograph picture?
Well, I have. There's the Tiffany Helm fan page.
Okay.
And I do try and check it frequently. I'm not super diligent about it. I do at some point I will return messages, but I'm not on it all the time. Or as you contacted me, you can also contact me through my personal page.
Okay.
I don't give out that information quite as much, but generally when people send requests, I accept them. I just don't, like I said, don't give out the information as much. And then what I was doing for quite a while, I've stopped it now, but I was, in lieu of somebody sending me money for an autograph picture, I was asking that people make a donation to an animal advocacy group, a shelter, or somebody fighting for the wolves or the dolphins, or some kind of advocacy group.
Okay.
And just send me the receipt, and I would send them an autographed picture. And I've kind of put that on hold right now because I have to do something to offset the cost of the photos, which can be quite expensive.
Okay.
So I may even work with the Alice Sanctuary to see if I can't set something up.
Oh, great. Yeah.
But for now, anybody who's interested can get on my fan page and send me a message, and I promise I will return the message when I get a chance. I just don't check it every day.
Okay. Well, one last thing. Would you do a plug for my show?
Certainly, if you tell me how to do it.
Just announce your name and say you're Violet and Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning, and say you're listening to Python's Paradise with Greg Gilbert.
Okay, in a second. All right. Okay, and when do I do that?
Right now.
Hi, this is Tiffany Helm. I played Violet in Friday the 13th, Part 5. You are listening to Python's Paradise with Greg Gilbert.
Well, Tiffany, it was fantastic having you on here today. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. And, just like with Melanie, you were a joy to talk to.
Well, thank you so much, and it was good talking to you. Thanks for reaching out.
And, of course, when this is done, I'll send the link to you. It probably won't air out until November.
Okay.
But here we are, September. So the fact that I'm well-versed ahead tells me I'm doing something right. And, of course, I've got your permission to use headshots of you when I do the YouTube transfer of it, huh?
Absolutely. You can grab something off of my fan page or my IMDb or whatever.
Okay.
Wherever you want to find them.
I'll do that. Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for coming on here today. And it was a joy.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, God bless you, and you have yourself a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.
Good morning.
Yes.
Thanks, Greg.
Good morning and goodbye. Have a great day.
Yep.
Bye-bye.